Hey, what's up guys, this is the Student Cook and today I'm going to show you how to make Gordon Ramsay's kimchi fried rice with flank steak in my own way. So let's get started. First of all, we're going to start with the flank steak itself. The flank steak is a really beautiful piece of meat that is often used by chefs because it doesn't have much fat and in itself it has great flavor and doesn't cost too much. So starting with the flank steak, we're first seasoning it with some olive oil, and on top of that we're also going to season it with some salt. You can use kosher salt or normal salt, just as you like. And we're going to do that on both sides of the flank steak and try to rub in everything really nice in order for the flavors to get into the flank steak. And also remember that the flank steak itself should be at room temperature. We don't want a cold steak because otherwise the cooking process can be influenced heavily. We're again going to season it and let it marinate for 30 seconds. Obviously, if you have more time on your hand, you can also let it rest for more time, but since we're trying to replicate Gordon Ramsay's 10-minute recipe, we don't have the time to let it marinate. Now we are continuing with the sauce of the flank steak. For that we are mixing soy sauce and honey together. The goal is to get a homogeneous sauce that will then be added to our steak. The sweetness of the honey and the rich flavor of the soy sauce will complement our flank steak really well, and we're now going to add our sauce to the steak itself. We're rubbing that in with our hands and try to get it to penetrate the whole meat, which will give a really rich and full flavor if the soy sauce and the honey can cover the whole meat itself. Now we're also going to season it with some pepper on both sides. Now move on to the fried rice. Ideally you should have fried rice from the day before if you want to make it in 10 minutes, but you can also cook up some rice. For the rice we are not going to use kimchi, but half an onion. We're going to peel the onion and cut it into small pieces and move on to the next step. To a large pan we will add some olive oil, heat that up and add our onions, and at medium to low heat we're going to cook our onions until they're glossy. You can also remove a smaller part of the onions because we are going to need that afterwards for our eggs, and put that into a separate bowl. Now to the onions, add your fried rice, ideally in smaller steps, but if it falls out at once, it shouldn't be too bad. Fry everything at medium heat and mix everything together. We want to get our rice really crispy, so we're not stirring too often. Add some additional olive oil to get some extra flavor. And also some curry powder if you fancy curry. Now add some olive oil to a hot pan and add your flank steak. If the oil has the right temperature, you should hear a nice sizzling sound, and you can now let your flank steak brown on every side. Don't move the flank steak for an even brown color on both sides. Now let it brown for a few minutes, and also if it might be tempting, just let it where it is. After 1 to 2 minutes, you can turn around your flank steak and it should have a nice brown color. To the separate pan where we added our onions, we're now going to add our fried egg and let it fry at medium to high heat for a few minutes. You can turn up the heat as soon as you've added the egg, and now season it with some salt and pepper and let it sit there and develop the roasting flavor. Now moving on to the fried rice, pay attention to not let it burn and recheck. After a few minutes you should have a crispy rice. You can also add some extra sauce to your steak for the extra flavor. And when the flank steak and the rice have a nice color, you can remove them from the heat. Extra flavor to our fried egg, we can also add a flake of butter and let that dissolve. After you've taken out your meat, you can also let it sit for a few minutes in order for the heat to get into the steak to get a nice rosé color of the meat. After we've done that, you can place it on a cutting board and cut it into thin slices, just as shown in the video. Now to the presentation, add some curry rice, your steak, some extra sauce if there's any left, and obviously also the fried egg cooked sunny side up. For the presentation, we can also add some freshly chopped parsley to give it that extra touch. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Now it's time for the B-roll with some of today's highlights. Thank you.